Hey there everyone, this is your pal Nova with Less Than Epic, and I've been thinking a lot lately with Classic WoW coming out soon. We have Final Fantasy 14 launching a new expansion, and that got me thinking, what the hell is up with the current state of MMOs in 2019? We have games like WoW that people used to play for ages. Well, Classic WoW, I played that for years and years and never left it. Then you have games like Final Fantasy 14 in 2019 that it seems much better to just take a break every once in a while. So that got me thinking to throw together a little video on the top 5 issues in MMOs in 2019. Let's do it. Before we get into this list, I wanted to let you know which games I'm using as kind of the reference for this. This list is from the most popular MMORPGs as of the recording of this video, based on what I can find for population and numbers and personal experience, and from what I see people recommending the most on Reddit. I've also played all the MMOs that I'm using on this list, as well as a bunch of free-to-play smaller MMOs that I didn't actually include on my list, but here's the top 5. Retail WoW, Final Fantasy 14, Elder Scrolls Online, Guild Wars 2, and Black Desert Online. Also, this is of course my personal opinion, and should you like to debate or comment on it, please use the comment section below and I will do my best to respond. Let's kick this off with the number 5 issue affecting MMORPGs in 2019, Pay to Win. Ask Reddit and you'll see this as the biggest issue in MMOs, but while I think it's an issue, I don't see it as quite the biggest one. This has to do with the fact that everyone sees pay to win a little differently. For instance, I don't see things like skipping story content in Final Fantasy 14 as pay to win, since you can't skip the newest expansion, but Blister, who also does a lot of MMO talk on this channel, thinks that is actually pay to win, or it might be. I think pay to win issue boils down to the fact that it allows companies to make free to play games that are literally just a big cash grab. Yes, I'm looking at you, Revelation Online. Anyway, this issue has become such a joke that we as consumers have no option except to expect any new MMO to have pay to win cash shops, even when they say they won't. This time I'm looking at you, Bless. Let's finish this one off by moving off these free to play shit and on more popular games like I listed above. In those, you don't see a lot of pay to win by most people's gauges, but you do have cash shops in every single one of them. Mounts, cosmetics, you see even pets in all these cash shops, and I personally don't have a problem with these types of cash shops, as I'm not really big on cosmetics anyway, and if I was, I could just buy what I wanted. However, I'm not a big fan of this business model, since it really does allow for greedy behavior, and we see way too much of that. Number 4, constant updates in the gear treadmill. My next issue looks good on paper, constant updates. Obviously we want stuff to do and we don't want to run into a wall with nothing to do. But with the new content comes the new problems of upping the gear cap, and this has become the rotation in every MMO I've played recently. Every few months new shit drops that you run over and over just to max out your gear that'll be useless in 2 more months. If you take any time off, you get pretty far behind and have to grind a little harder to catch up, only to be useless again in 2 weeks. I get the purpose and I even get why they want to do it, but it doesn't make me like it. I don't play an MMO to make it another job. I have enough of those. So I'm sure the question is, how do we fix this? Well, that is honestly a tough question that I've thought about, as I'm sure the other devs have, and Blister got to read this script and he didn't have any ideas. Option 1 that I came up with is to add new content that's fun to play and takes time to beat fully. I think the multiple mythic dungeon levels in WoW was a really good idea, gave you a lot to work towards and plenty to do. I also think the epic weapon quests in Destiny 2 are fun and engaging, and they take a lot of time to complete because they're not that easy. Maybe innovate. I know that's a crazy word in the MMO industry, but maybe innovate here and create some shit that's fun to play, that people want to play, and they don't play it just to gear up. Number 3 on our list is difficulty. And including a little bit of that as why every game is single player oriented. Speaking of goals, another gripe of mine is the difficulty of 99% of the content in an MMO I listed above. Is it supposed to be hard to move left and right out of AoEs and push 1, 2, 3 over and over? Is it supposed to be hard to grab a quest, follow a line on the ground to a group of mobs, kill all 10 of them in 30 seconds because they are underpowered, and then run back? Hell, in a few games you can even autopath and you don't even have to think about it. If you think that's just how it has to be, I ask you to take a look at classic WoW. Take a look at what EverQuest used to be like. Take a look at Final Fantasy XI and really any of the other old school MMOs. These games all required groups. Classic WoW was considered casual at its time, and still if you pulled 2 to 3 mobs you were dead. Final Fantasy XI literally was gated behind group content. I don't want to delve too far into the groups and communities side yet, as that's another point on my list, but let's wrap back around to difficulty. It seems they built MMOs today so you can just play it solo. Even dungeon content is so mind-numbing easy now you can watch Netflix while running it. It feels like the devs are worried players don't want to fail. Well, I want challenge. I want to feel like I overcame a challenge when I win. I want to die and learn from my mistakes. This sort of game is also going to help with my last point, because players won't be able to beat all the content in one sitting. It will take some time, some learning, some help. And I reference Final Fantasy XIV as a big one here, and I'm sure retail WoW is the same way, is that new dungeon drops and you run through it without any guides and you just one-shot it. Not even a challenge. Now, before you start yelling at me in the comments, I do understand we have raids, and I do understand and have played those. That sort of content is 100% what I'm asking for. Even extreme primals in Final Fantasy XIV were challenging and fun, but even those had to be dumbed down because the player base cried. I remember Titan Hard when Final Fantasy XIV launched was a huge challenge, and you needed it to get a sweet weapon. That fight took a lot of practice and learning to get through, and maybe a little bit of good ping, but at the end of the day, you know you had fun doing it, and you know you felt awesome when you finally beat it. Number 2 on our list, class builds, uniqueness, and RPG elements. So this point actually came in from Blister, but I loved it so much I put it as number 2. Class builds, RPG elements, and character uniqueness is something that's missing in all recent MMORPGs. It's gone. It's gone with the wind. I know in Elder Scrolls you can actually mix match weapons and alter playstyles slightly, but it's very far from a traditional Elder Scrolls game. What happened to our MMORPGs? Well, clearly they turned into MMOs. In WoW, a Resto Shaman is a Resto Shaman. They're all the same. In Final Fantasy XIV, a Bard is a Bard. They're all the same. This theme continues throughout the game and continues to get worse. Final Fantasy XIV, for instance, is really blending all the tanks and healers together so that all playstyles are pretty much the same thing and they have the same basic rotations. And WoW did that too, and that's just dumb. No longer do we have elemental damage. We have to worry about classes being balanced. People get butthurt if their class isn't considered the best for a raid. Screw that. Classes should have strengths. They should have weaknesses. We should be able to make builds for different dungeons, different bosses, different fights. Who cares if a fire mage is useless in a lava dungeon? They need to change and adapt and grow. They need to change their build for that dungeon. To that, we need to allow classes to have different builds and fill different roles. We need to allow players to make their own builds and have fun messing around with those builds. Yes, the hardcore group will min-max, but it doesn't stop the casual group from having fun with whatever build they can come up with and making interesting builds. And lastly, we need RPG elements back in our MMORPGs. Weapons with stats that matter, that are unique. I shouldn't keep the same gear for every single fight for the next 2 months. Again, this would help with the gear treadmill, as gear will last longer since it has niche uses. Character stats that matter. Why do you give us attribute points when they basically do nothing? Make classes that are viable and can help us part of a team, and don't worry about who's the strongest as long as they are pretty damn close. Alright, my last point. Number 1 reason why I think MMOs are shit in 2019 is the community. I'm sure you've heard this from me before, but I miss my MMO communities. Let's clear it up real quick in case you haven't heard this before. I am not talking about toxic or not toxic communities. Toxic communities weren't even a major concern in early MMOs because the community as a whole policed itself. What we are talking about here is playing with other people. meeting other people, talking to other people, helping other people. I know this is mind-blowing. Just hold on for a minute. We'll explain it. The easiest example I can give you is to go play Classic WoW. Go play that for 1 hour. And if you aren't grouped up with some random person doing quests together, you must have been hiding out in the cave. The game makes solo play hard, so people reach out and try to help each other, which in turn helps them, but it goes so far beyond that. You used to know people on a server that had done cool things. You knew who was the top in the PvP charts. You used to see people with cool items and cool armor. You would know the strong guilds by name and even players by name. You used to know who to go to for enchants. And the best part is none of these people were actually friends or even hang around with you. You just knew them because they were part of a greater community. And that community was actually thousands of people, which is crazy. They used to actually study MMO communities. You could even make new friends inside a game and keep them for life, as I have done. Thanks for watching, everyone. This has been your pal Nova from Less Than Epic. Please smash that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up if you like this content, and as always, throw some comments below and let's chat about it. Just to review, top 5 issues with MMOs in 2019. Number 5, pay to win. Number 4, constant updates and gear treadmill. Number 3, it's too easy. Number 2, class builds, uniqueness, and no more RPG elements. And number 1, the biggest one that's closest to my heart, is there's no more community. Thanks again, guys. Also, be ready as Blister is live streaming some of that sweet, sweet classic WoW on YouTube 3 days a week, and I'll be jumping in to stream a little bit of random stuff here and there. Thanks again for watching. Welcome to Less Than Epic, and take it easy.
Hey, it's Radit here. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel. We put out multiple new videos each week and we appreciate all of your support. Thanks for watching, everyone, and cheers.